Greetings, everybody. It's Gary Brown with TUG, and I want to thank you for attending the Unilink webinar today. Tony Palermo and David Humer are going to be our presenters, and I'm going to turn it over to Tony to start the presentation. Go ahead, Tony.
Okay, thank you, Gary, and thanks to TUG for hosting this event this afternoon. On behalf of David Humer and myself, we'd like to thank everyone for taking the time out of your valuable day to listen to this information session regarding your EDI initiative and an update on choices that people are making today. This is not a sales pitch. It's really intended to be an information exchange. Unilink has been in the EDI provider space for 22 plus years. We have a very skilled staff of resources that eat, live, breathe EDI, from mapping to processing to our customer service platform, and we've seen considerable growth over the last year. From an agenda standpoint, we're going to talk a little bit about manual input, but we're going to go way beyond that and talk about the choices that you have to either complement, supplement, or start your EDI initiative for your company. We'll look at some recent trends. We'll assess some of the EDI's impact on your business. We'll spend a little time on total cost of ownership, which I think is a very relevant current topic. And then we'll have time at the end for questions and answers. Now, as it relates to manual processing, that debate has left the dock. Paper is complex. It's inaccurate. It's inefficient. It costs more money to have people sitting down, entering and re-entering information into multiple ERP systems. When I say multiple, I mean on your end and your trading partner's end. EDI's direct benefits are many, and from a pure cost standpoint only, it is much less expensive to process these transactions via EDI than it is from a manual perspective. So what we see today is limited applications where companies are engaged in only a couple EDI connections to their vendors. Typically, it's forced implementation. Companies are going kicking and screaming because they have a customer or a trading partner that is absolutely demanding that the only way that they'll receive and transmit is via an EDI connection. It has typically been tactical. There's been some small expense-saving efforts as a result of that, but there is so much more to offer in a more robust EDI program. So, what are your options? Well, you can do nothing, which I don't think is an option in today's world. You can do it completely in-house. You can partner with an end-to-end outsourcing partner like Unilink, or you can look at it as a hybrid based on your current ROI, your internal resources and priorities, and what else is a factor that comes into play. Our position is that we don't have to do it all. We'd like to do it all, but there are some cases where you've already made an investment in your EDI platform, and you may have a certain percentage of your trading partners activated. We can come in and do the balance. So when you envision an EDI partnership, this is the criteria that we think we've heard from our customers. Number one is they want someone who's going to do the end-to-end process and to own it and have one source to go to, or what they say in some industries is one neck to choke. They want true EDI commerce. They want a trusted, proven provider, someone that has customer service at the top of their list, and compliant with standards, protocols, and communication options. Now, the partnership criteria that matters also is guaranteed success. In our company, we guarantee the success in that there's no billing until we have successful production-ready transactions in the queue. There's no CapEx for your company. We have a well-defined implementation plan that frees up your internal resources. We require just a small portion of a person's time to coordinate with. We will assume the responsibility for coordination with all your trading partners and any changes that may occur from a trading partner down the line. And we have a portal that will automate all exception reporting and correction. David?
Thanks, Tony. And I assume you said the one neck to choke. Be clear, that's your neck. I assume you're speaking of. I don't want any part of that part.
All right.
So as Tony was saying, we're seeing more and more there's a move to not just plug the dike like the little Dutch boy with EDI. People are finally, and really over the last 18 months, have started to embrace it as a way to move, aggressively move their business forward. One of the things we like to be clear about is we're not old-fashioned EDI, quote unquote. There's a standard called X12, and many people think that it has to be just that kind of communication. We do what we consider universal EDI. So no matter what kind of format someone is outputting, and no matter what the target looks like, we sit in the middle and do that translation. So not only does it eliminate the paper as described here, but it handles any kind of system-to-system requirement. We'll speak a little more of that. The other thing is we're encountering some people that think that using OCR to capture a data stream is sufficient to handle all of their EDI, and clearly that's not true, because especially your larger trading partners aren't going to send you an image that can be OCR'd. They're going to send a data stream you have to be able to handle. The other thing is, to date, we've never encountered an OCR solution that was 100% successful at 100% accurate, I should say. And if it's not 100% accurate, then it's our contention that it won't suffice to do EDI, because it will actually cause more downstream problems than it solves. So as I said, over the last 18 months, more and more, say in the dark ages, people would only want to do EDI, as Tony mentioned, kicking and screaming, because, gee, I've got to do business with Home Depot. I've got to do business with Do It Best, and they're not going to talk to me unless I can do electronic interchange with them. And now this is completely coming full circle, and people are coming to us and saying, no, we want to have all our vendors and all our customers connected, because it's finally dawned on us that not only does it save us money, but it saves our customers money. And as it says here, customers are becoming more savvy about this. So really what we're seeing now, we call the core four. Almost everyone is wanting to do purchase orders, invoices, PO acknowledgments, and advanced ship notices. And we have a lot of our current distributor customers that are doing business with Walmart, Amazon, and many of these others. And of course, you can't do business with them unless you're providing advanced ship notices, because you have to have your tracking and delivery information. Then, so I would say, this core four is the thing we've seen, but now there's kind of the next wave people are getting on. Some trading partners will do rebates for you. Others are looking to vendor-managed inventory. Rockwell Automation is, that's the only way they will do business is through VMI. Again, this is always being driven by what is going to make things more efficient and more accurate. As I said, it's not the same old EDI. So a lot of trading partners and customers are not no longer requiring a value-added network, a VAN. If you're not familiar with that, your large companies, Honeywell, Square-D, people like that, they will only accept data into and out of their four walls, basically, through a value-added network. So that, of course, is something we provide. It's just embedded in our service and our value. It's not an add-on thing. You don't have to go and pay your own VAN network fees and mailbox fees and that sort of thing. But as I said, more and more people are moving away from that. So we also handle any other kind of internet-enabled communication option. So we do web services, any kind of FTP, AS2. Again, this is all driven by what our customers' requirements are and what their trading partners' requirements are. As I mentioned earlier, we don't consider document scanning to be a sufficient EDI solution, because we've talked to customers that have tried that, and what they find is, yeah, the scanning may be even 99% accurate, but it's that 1% when you get a character misinterpreted and it's accepted into the system, it may be 4 or 5 or 6 steps through your process before it's noticed that, wait a minute, this doesn't jibe here. And so then you have to not only figure out what the misinterpreted character was, but you have to back up out of, maybe many layers of processing to get that corrected. And they say, even though it may only be 1%, when it does happen, it's just an absolute nightmare for them. See, Tony talked about the manual processing. I think everyone in running your business is aware of the costs of that. I think sometimes people don't take into account a full impact of manual entry errors. You can end up shipping too much or too little in terms of product, or the wrong product. And so then, to have the proper level of service, you've got to bear the cost of correcting things like that. The other thing is, what does that make you look like out there to your customers? What's your service reputation look like? And we firmly believe that manually dealing with a document of more than a few lines is going to cost you on the order of $15 a piece, and we believe that's a really conservative number. We've had some of our trading partners say they figure it costs them $125 a piece. I think some of you may be encountering this when you try and deal with manual documents to some of your trading partners, and they tell you, yeah, we'll take manual documents, but we're going to charge you $50 a piece. That's just a little bit of a reflection of what that costs. And 7 years ago, we were working with Honeywell, and their internal hard dollar metric, that's not counting what happens if a mistake is made, what does it cost to correct things like that, was 51 cents an order line. So, you can see if you've got a 100-line invoice or PO, that's $51 in just time for someone to sit there and hopefully do it correctly. So we have the hidden costs of ownership concerns. If you want to do these things in-house, remember there's lots and lots and lots of moving pieces here. You've got to buy some sort of mapping software. You've got to have hardware to handle all these different kind of communication protocols that exist in the world now. And then if you have this software and hardware, there's annual maintenance fees, upgrade expenses. We all are very intimately experienced in those kind of issues. And then it just cascades. Most likely, if you have a trading partner that requires a VAN, now that's something else that you have to not only pay for, but there's really a care and feeding that goes on to maintain this sort of thing. With personnel, you've got to get them trained. There's going to be periodic personnel turnover, and then you've got to retrain people. Even if you have a loyal staff and you're compensating them highly, you know, there's no guarantee someone's not going to hit the lottery and move on to greener pastures. So again, these are all the little pieces that each one may not seem that large in your budget, but when you add it all up, the cost of doing this in-house can be really staggering. Now, as far as our total cost of ownership, as I said, we include all the different communication methods, so you don't have to have a van or servers to do AS2 or SSL or any of the things that people are required. We handle all the translation, and all the ongoing maintenance is included. So periodically your trading partners may make minor changes to their formats. That's handled as just part of our monthly service. And then you really only have part-time of an employee impacted. They have to generate outbound tests when you want to set up a new transaction type or trading partner, and they have to review inbound tests. But after that, it's very much a hands-off thing. I like to think of it as, you know, it's like the plumbing. It's behind the walls, and it works, and pretty soon I forget that it's even there. We handle, you know, new transaction types. Currently, we do about 43 different business transaction types, and we've grown that list in 1999 from just purely purchase orders to now, as I said, there's 43 different kinds of these, and those were all driven by our customers saying, I want to add this one, the next one, so on. So we even do 820 payment remittance advice to people's banks so that they can send that to their banking partner, and then, you know, they do the actual funds transfers for them. So as I mentioned, kind of in a highlight, we view ourselves as universal EDI. So we have a massive distributor customer that also has an industrial supply arm of the company, and they run automated tool cribs. And they said, gee, we don't want to have to keep going to these automated tool cribs and print out reports of what replenishment levels are, and then go and make these orders from the distribution side of our house. And then when the material comes in, we have to go and we have to manually update the levels in all these devices. So we have it set up so those devices actually send the orders to their distribution side, and then when the material comes in, the updated replenishment levels are passed through our data center and go to these devices, and there's no, other than, of course, physically going to the tool crib and putting the physical items in it, there's no longer any human intervention that's required there. So you can see the ROI is not only large, but it is almost literally instantaneous. I mean, as soon as you get one of these up and running, you're immediately saving money. So in the critical decision factors, you have to decide where your business needs are. So Tony touched on this a bit. We, of course, come in and handle all of one of our customers' EDI requirements. They simply say, here, look, here's a list of these 50 trading partners we have. We want to do these 3 or 4 transaction types with each. Here's some contact information, and then you just tell us when you want some tests. So we, as Tony said, we do all the coordination, all the project coordination on that to go to the trading partner, find out what their requirements are, and then get the testing processing done. One of the interesting things here is what we're able to do is we go to a trading partner and we don't ever say, oh, you know, Mr. Distributor wants you to, you're going to have to change this, or the data has to be a little different, or we need a little different kind of communication method. Because as soon as you do that, either if it's a big trading partner like a Home Depot, well, actually, they won't even take the time to laugh at you. It'll just be dead air at that point. but if it's, say, a moderate size supplier or vendor, they might say, yeah, we'll consider that, but then that gets put on their to-do list, and it would literally, if ever it would get done, it would be months and months and months out. So we really lowered the hurdle for EDI adoption by going to your customers and your suppliers and saying, look, however you want to generate the data or whatever you want it to look like, we sit in the middle and we make sure that is accounted for. Let's see, Tony mentioned the automated alerts we have. If most of the large trading partners will send back a EDI transaction called a 997, a functional acknowledgement, which means if you send a PO to a supplier, they'll send back that acknowledgement, meaning that the data was received. Now, this is a transaction we monitor. It's actually not one we count for billing purposes because there's no real business information in that. That's only kind of closes the delivery loop. So our data center has automated monitoring and alerts that if we don't get those acknowledgments back within the prescribed time periods, then we maintain a contact list that then get emailed so that they're alerted that for some reason maybe their van sat in the middle and didn't get the data patched to us correctly. But it'll alert them and let them know to resend the data. Likewise, if we send data to one of your trading partners and they don't send an acknowledgement back, we can actually re-queue that data and resend it to them, and our customers don't even know there's been an issue. They don't know that there was a problem and the data had to be resent. So again, another kind of check the box of things that get done that don't impact your personnel's busy day and their bandwidths. As I said, we have all sorts of different communication protocols we handle, so we're constantly keeping up with different EDI technologies. Again, that's something you can focus on what your business fortes are. You don't have to be mucking about with, really things that don't have direct bearing on your business strategy. So I think I've basically hit on all the pieces of our one-stop EDI solution. Tony mentioned there's no capital outlay. You don't have to buy hardware. You don't have to buy software. You don't have to pay for people to get trained on the software. So it makes it a very easy budgeting item, and there are no surprises. You can look at what your transaction volume growth you project to be, and you can pretty much budget your whole year's worth of EDI without any kind of gotcha surprises along the way. Here we mentioned the things that if things we provide, and we've kind of quantified some of these numbers. We try to keep them realistic. I try not to go overboard, so we think these are probably pretty reasonable numbers. You can see that van fees can start out at least a couple $100 and can easily grow to a few thousand. And one thing I think people sometimes don't account for is they've got to have more than one employee dedicated to this, because employees, of course, have to have time off, and people will from time to time be ill. So you can't have just a single person that this rides on. That's one of the advantages we provide, because we have a whole team of people that have been doing nothing but EDI, mapping development, and production support. And so if someone's on vacation or someone's sick, we have our tech support email box that goes to everyone, and so it has visibility. You don't have to worry about someone being on vacation or being sick. You know that this is being handled. And once you get up and running and have, we have customers that have as a number from last month, they had over 560,000 transactions flow through our data center. So you can imagine, I mean, this is their business. The orders are flowing through, at tens of thousands a day, and they have warehouse staff that are taking care of fulfilling this. And so, if you have just one employee that's based on they're sick, and you have an issue, clearly that's untenable. The other thing, as I said, we're not the standard kind of EDI. We call them smart maps, and they handle a variety of custom rules. We have some folks that, wait a minute, when the invoicing data comes in, we want it split out based on this information to different GL lines in our accounting system. In this case, it happened to be a Lawson system, but we went through lots and lots of very intricate mapping solutions to provide them that. So you can imagine how much that saves them, how much that augments the power of their accounting staff, that stuff is coming into their ERP the way they want it to be. In dealing with some of these e-commerce big boxes, they require data that maybe SX.e doesn't natively provide. However, it's something that can be calculated, some sort of calculated offset, like a promise date or a ship date, and your business rules say, well, add 3 business days to this, and 5 to this, and 7 to that. Those are the types of extended functionality that we can add through our mapping systems. So just something to keep in mind. It's not your plain vanilla, move field A to position 6 type of mapping that we can do. And here's some other examples of these sorts of things. So when you're looking to augment your business with EDI, make sure you can handle the things that are listed here. There's many times there'll be cross-references that are needed, or drop ships. Unit of measure cross-references are almost, that's almost a given. It's almost like no two people want to use the same unit of measure, even for the same product ID. And then for any of you that have rebate opportunities with your trading partners, those can be massive. We have a customer in Tennessee that they are at the point, we've gotten them so far ahead with rebate transactions that they get a $60,000 check from their trading partner in rebate dollars before they even get the invoice in from that trading partner. So that was a pleasant surprise for the CFO the first month that started happening. And again, we touched on this a little bit. Again, don't get in the old mindset of what EDI is. This can be something so that you can actually send data to your customers. Anything you can do to streamline and help your customers, that's going to just put your service level up a notch or two from your competitors. I like to use the example, if I've got if I'm using Amazon Prime and they're the easiest thing for me to work with, I'm probably, I'm naturally lazy, so I'm going to just go and use the path of least resistance. So if you make your company by far and away the easiest option to work with, you're going to find that they're going to gravitate towards using more and more of your services just because you provide them with an advantage. And we talked about these things. You got this, Tony?
Yep. We'll take a look now at the big picture. A lot of companies think of this as strictly a cost-saving efficiency measure, but in fact, we think it's a big differentiator and a competitive weapon that would put your company ahead of the others if you are in fact the easiest company to do business with. It also handles growth. All the business articles today are talking about the manufacturing distribution renaissance. And that requires, of course, more transactions are occurring. And if your staff has to grow linear with the number of transactions, you're not getting the same bottom line effect. We have seen year to date a phenomenal growth year over year. We're at 50% more transactions that are being processed through our system, and we think that is, in fact, a byproduct of business being good this year, and this renaissance actually occurring. And of course, being able to accurately process these transactions does have a positive effect on your inventory and turns. So we tie your improvement to your goals. We don't think you should limit just to outbound documents. There's all kinds of processes that can take place within your company that move data from system A to system B. There's other industry sectors that we are in the process of scoping out. The construction industry, for instance, and being able to have multiple project management systems communicate with each other on an electronic basis. And then I think what you see in your industry sector also is the web storefront. A lot of companies have, in fact, invested a lot of money in a storefront. And on the next slide, you can see the vendor experience and the advantages and disadvantages, being able to see inventory visibility, ERP integration, but that's one direction. If you have a storefront, your customers place that order in the storefront. They have to turn around and place that same order in their ERP system. We have customers that have automated that process back to their trading partner's ERP system. So they're doing data entry one time, and then the rest of the communication follows suit. That cuts down significantly on errors between the two systems. So the vendor and partner advantages combined are visible inventory, automated transaction, full integration, there's no duplicate of work, ease of use, error reduction, total cost savings, and universal adoption in the processing of this information. So it's not necessarily that one has to move away from that portal, but there are benefits to processing that information back through their trading partner's ERP system. And the old saying, if you automate a poor process, you're going to expect a bigger mess faster. So why not your own network? Well, what does that look like? You know, it's always your data requirements, inbound and outbound, always your trading partner's requirements, inbound and outbound. And you want to accommodate the lowest cost and best communication protocols possible. The next slide is just a picture, if you will, of the universal EDI sitting in the middle between you and your customers, your suppliers, your buying groups, noting that we handle all the different formats and protocols. So the consideration is, what can your company reasonably take on today? You certainly have to factor in the cost of inaction, and that if it's costing you $15 to process a transaction manually, and you can do it for $1 or less, every transaction that's going through your system is virtually costing you $14. Inventories are very important to any type of business, and again, you have to put a dollar amount on the efficiency. As we talked about earlier, when you put pencil to paper, the ROI and the payback are phenomenal, and that can be versus certainly doing it in a manual fashion, or in a lot of cases, your internal cost, total cost of doing business may in fact be higher when you take all those variables into consideration. versus outsourcing that to an EDI partner, a trusted EDI partner. So I've always been told that in any implementation or any project, there's quality, cost, and time. And for years, I've always been told you can only have two of the three. I've built a few houses over the years, and every single builder will tell you, if you want high quality and you want it faster, it's going to cost more money. If you want to lower your cost and you want it fast, you're going to give up quality. Well, in this initiative, I firmly believe that you're really going to get all three. And there's not many times when you look at a solution to an existing process or problem that in fact you're going to be able to deliver on all three qualifiers: higher quality, lower cost, and faster time. So as it relates to manual processing, you can definitely do it, but you can't do it indefinitely. And I used to work for this guy that used to always end his comments with, you can either get on the steamroller or become part of the road. And we hope that you guys will join us in expanding your EDI initiative or getting your initiative started. And again, what we talked about earlier was the barrier to entry in working with a true EDI partner is very low. No money is expended until we have proven transactions ready to go into the production state. We don't require multiple year agreements. We're basically a month-to-month company, so we have to earn the right to your business on a monthly basis. And that's all the sales talk that we'll include for today. So with that, we'll open it up, Gary, for questions.
Okay, now is a good time to submit your questions if you have any, or you can raise your hand and I'll be able to see it raised. In the meantime, I'm not sure if you've dealt with this or not, but I'm assuming that you guys have integrations with all of the Infor distribution ERPs. So Fax, A+, SX.enterprise, and SHIMS.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because we sit in the middle and do universal translation, any to any, we've done all sorts, even people's homegrown proprietary systems. As long as you have an output format and you can describe what that is, and you have an inbound spec that we can map to, we've successfully mapped to all of those.
And what about Cloud Suite? Are you working with Infor on that integration?
Yes, we are. We're helping them as quickly as they have a customer that needs it and they have the transaction types that customer wants to do in their BOD, their business object document that works with their ION piece. Then again, we sit in the middle and map from Cloud Suite to their customers and their trading partners.
Okay. And you guys are you're a partner with Infor, correct?
Yes, for the larger SX customers, we actually are an offering through Infor, so they bill for our services. For the ones who work for value-added or work through value-added resellers, many of the value-added resellers are our partners as well.
Okay. One last question from me. About how many TUG members are you doing business with today?
Oh, I would say probably 70% of our business, so I'd say close to 100.
100 companies, okay. All right, well, I don't see any other questions and I don't see any hands raised, David, so I think we can conclude the webinar.
Okay, well, thanks for your time and I appreciate your questions.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely.
Tony's information here is up here, and our website has tons and tons of good info on it. So please contact us directly if you have any other questions.
And if not, we'll certainly send a thank you out. We'll send a thank you out to everyone with the contact information.
Very good. David, Tony, thank you so much for the presentation, and everyone have a great day. Take care.
Thank you.